Hey, what's up? Welcome back to the Two Goat Show. We're your hosts, Miriah and Steph. Steph, what's up? Happy Thursday. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you, Mariah? I'm doing great. Uh Excited because the combine is going on, and it's always fun to see how guys do and see who raises their stock. It's exciting to see who the 49ers are meeting with, who they might be
Hmm.
interested in. We get a bit of a better idea around this time. So it's a good time of the year.
I agree. I agree. Today is especially fun. I love watching, big guys run fast and the DNs, man, they're out there really hauling ass today. Um, And yeah, you talked about, the who the 49ers have met with. We definitely get into that. There's definitely a big name at the top of that list that I want to talk about for sure. Um, we have another set of who would you questions that I'm going to be throwing at you. So we're going to see what 49ers players, maybe you want to be stuck in an escape room with, or road trip or some stuff like that. So definitely get into that as well. Um, let's just start at the combine. We're there. Well, first, before we do that, chat, what's up, chat? I hope you guys are doing great. Um, I saw something real quick. Don, you're in my prayers. I hope you guys continue to stay safe over there. Um, and yeah, please don't ever come here and, feel like you have to explain why you're not going to be in the chat. I completely understand. You take care of what you need to take care of. I appreciate you. And yeah, everybody else, much love, fam. I see all of you guys. We definitely appreciate each and every one of you guys that are here. Happy Thursday. I hope everybody's had a wonderful week and continues to have a safe and wonderful week. Combine. Um, let's get into the big name that was out there today. And that was Kool-Aid. You say sipping on the Kool-Aid. The 49ers, have met with cornerback, as they call him, as he's called, Kool-Aid, sipping on the Kool-Aid. Do you think, I wasn't even thinking that, is it even a possibility that he is still around when the 49ers pick at 31? Or would you think that the 49ers have to trade up for that to even be a possibility? Where are you at with the whole Kool-Aid talk right now?
I did see in Bucky Brooks mock draft that he has him going at 28. So in that range, I guess, but I would expect, and especially um depending on how he does at the combine, like it could move him up even further. So yeah, I would say likely the 49ers would have to trade up in order to get him, but I'd be shocked if the 49ers even went corner in the first round. Now, in the scenario that he did fall to 31 or in that range, I could definitely see it then, because then you're going best player available. I mean, that's probably a player who ends up being, Pro Bowl, potentially All Pro. I don't know, at some point in his career, right? So at that point, I think it would be worth it for them to make that move, and that could be why they're meeting with him. Just because of that uh, possibility of him potentially falling.
Right. I did watch a video recently that Brad, shout out to Brad out there putting in the work, that he recently put out. And he had said, from who he's spoken to and who he's heard of, that the 49ers have met with a lot of cornerbacks.
Mhm.
So definitely see. I don't know, I keep wanting to say, it's time for the 49ers to take an offensive lineman in the first round, right? But I feel like we've been saying that for how many years, and the 49ers don't ever do that. And then I keep telling myself it's time for the 49ers to take that, first round cornerback. but it's like, are we really going to do like, I just feel like the 49ers, they're just going to go defensive end because that's just what I'm so accustomed to them doing every time we have a first round pick.
Yeah.
So I really hope that, I mean, when you have a team that has so like, no glaring weaknesses, I guess, to where, I mean, yeah, you could say O-line, right? But like we do have guys that where, it's not like we have to have a go out and draft, the fans want us to go out and draft a guy in the first round, right? But um it's just like, do they go best guy available? Do we actually see the 49ers do that? Like, I feel like we just see the 49ers go best 49er guy available, and it doesn't really matter. Like, we've seen them so many drafts, like recently, like the third round running back choices, and it's like, well, they reached for a running back that most people had, like going in the fourth, fifth, sixth round, and they're drafting him in the third round, so it's just like, I don't know. It's so hard to guess what the 49ers are going to do these days. And I feel like it's been so long since we've had a first round pick. So for real, like I have no clue what they're going to do. But good thing for you having your handy dandy 49ers prospect notebook, I'm going to call it, because you're keeping track of everybody that the 49ers have met with throughout this whole offseason process, right? Let us know. Give me maybe like your 5 most intriguing names so far that the 49ers have met with in the combine. And we know obviously there's still class, like I think O-line they haven't met with, right?
Yeah.
Like that's this weekend. So there's still obviously a whole group of guys they haven't met with, but so far up into this point in the process.
Yeah, I think so far I'd say Kool-Aid definitely one of those guys. I'll say Andrew Phillips just because he's probably projected to be like a second, third round guy. He's a nickel corner, but he's one of the guys that when he was at the Senior Bowl, like he stood out to me. So definitely just seeing names over again that I recognize. I'm like, ooh, I'm like the Leonardo DiCaprio meme of him pointing. I'd say Darius Robinson is another good one. If you guys were watching the combine before we went live, you saw Darius Robinson looking pretty good out there. Another one is Cedric Gray, just because of what I've said about him so far, and me kind of feeling like there is a connection there with the 49ers already. And he met with them at the Senior Bowl, so that's what we know so far, not the combine. We'll wait to see if
Right.
he well, actually he did, they already did the media session, so I don't know if he did end up meeting with them after that, because they do get 2 days of team interviews. So it's possible that he met with 49ers after the media availability. But yeah, that was definitely a name that stood out to me. And yeah, there's a couple of edge guys like Austin Booker, Javon Solomon, were other guys that were good. Jonah Ellis, good. Mark Perry, I like him a lot, and also Trey Taylor. I know I'm mentioning more than 5 guys. I'm
That's
so
okay.
sorry, but but I had Mark Perry on my show last Friday, and he was awesome. He's from TCU, and then I had Trey Taylor yesterday. He's from Air Force. He's a safety as well. Both of those guys met with the 49ers at the Shrine Bowl, and they just seem like real stand-up guys. And as far as character goes, definitely feel like guys that would be 49ers, right? Like Trey Taylor
Yeah.
talked highly of former 49ers players. Like his cousin actually is Ed Reed. And
Oh,
so
okay.
he talked about how Ed gives him some pointers, on film, has him watching some things and all this. And he also mentioned Dante Whitner is a guy that he speaks to, and someone he watches a lot of tape on. So yeah, that would definitely stood out to me. I'll also say as far as offensive lineman, Christian Mahogany is someone who the 49ers met with at the Shrine Bowl as well. Again, like as you pointed out, the offensive linemen don't meet with the media until later in the week. So it won't be till then that we kind of find out who the 49ers are meeting with at the combine as far as offensive lineman goes. But, Christian Mahogany is definitely a guy who potentially the 49ers would want to meet with again. Um, I was as far as the name and the player itself, I don't know too much about Max Melton, but what did stand out to me is that he said he's met with the 49ers about 5 or 6 times since the Senior Bowl.
Wow.
That's a lot. That's a lot. The Senior Bowl was, like, not even that long ago.
Dang.
That was, like, a month ago, so, that's pretty crazy to me, and I mean, I gotta imagine that's for a good reason that,
Yeah.
they wanna keep tabs on him. But yeah, so those are some names
Interesting.
that I think, stood out to me.
And then I thought I saw earlier that somebody asked you a question regarding this, what Rob's asking here,
Yeah.
right? So do you happen to know or have any
I
clue?
know. So, as far as overall visits, I didn't look at that, but I looked at top 30 visits, which is usually the bigger indicator
Mhm,
of who the 49ers are interested in. And, just for context, the top 30 visits are um a max of 30 visits that a team can have, uh, a max of 30 players the 49ers can bring in for a visit to their facilities. They can meet with they can check out the facilities, they can meet with maybe some teammates or, some guys on the team, they
mhm,
can meet with more members of the team and all that. So it is very like personal, more so than other meetings that you would have at the combine, Shrine Bowl, Senior Bowl. So as far as those go, last season, 4 top 30 visit players ended up getting drafted by the 49ers. And I actually tracked this back to 2017, um, when this regime, uh, you know, uh, started. And
mhm,
I'll share it right now. I don't know if you guys can see this very well, but if you could put that up on the screen. Just so what I want to do is update this because I didn't finish filling out the the draft class for 2023 or the UDFA class, but I typically
mhm,
would list that as well. But none of these names are names that ended up being undrafted free agents. If you guys do recall, I had Spencer Wagey on my podcast last off season. He ended up being an undrafted free agent for the 49ers. He got cut at some point. Then they brought him back on the practice squad. Um, so he was one of those players who wasn't a top 30 visit, but was on that draft sheet, and they ended up bringing in as an undrafted free agent. If you go back as far as 2017, you'll start like, yeah, these top 30 visits are huge. Like anything in red is guys who were drafted, anything is in yellow are guys who um were top 30 visits, but were either like undrafted free agents that they brought on. And, because it goes so far back at this point, like you start to see some guys who the 49ers even picked up as free agents, like Arden Key, for example. They didn't
mhm,
draft Arden Key. Arden Key ended up being someone who they signed, later on. Kumoko Ture was someone they brought in later on. So that's why, like, I kind of, for people who say like these meetings don't matter, I say look at the numbers, look at these stats. I guess not stats, but just look at the
mhm,
proof here. Proof is in the pudding. It does matter to the 49ers, and in particular, like I said, these top 30 visits. So yeah, it's definitely interesting to see, and that's basically why I wanted to lay it all out, because I was curious myself. It is a
mhm,
question that I get like often of, and I see people saying like, oh, but I thought they didn't even
mhm.
meet with any of these guys, and that's just not the case. And it goes both ways. Like sometimes they can draft a player that they haven't uh met with, or that wasn't reported as the 49ers haven't met with that player, but you know, that can happen too. So yeah.
David says, "I want a center that's not sweaty."
Is is Brendel like super sweaty or something?
No, I don't think him, but I remember, was it him? Somebody, I feel like that Jimmy Garoppolo complained that they were dropping sweat on the ball, on the
Oh,
football. I don't remember
that's
who it
that's
was though, maybe Mac
embarrassing.
or
That's
somebody,
funny.
but I remember, and I've heard other teams as well, like especially in training camp and whatnot, like when those hot still when it's summer, days and stuff.
Alex Mack. It was Alex Mack,
Yeah,
I guess.
okay. Yeah, that they're
That's
dropping
funny.
sweat, and the quarterbacks having to have a towel to wipe off the ball, wipe off their hands and stuff, and it's just like, I couldn't even imagine. Like, where's that sweat even coming from? Like, what part of their body? Like, that's so disgusting.
Oh my
Ugh.
gosh.
Um, all right, so let's play GM Steph Bosa for a little while. And
Stuff Bosa.
I asked Ty and TL this question on Sunday, and so I would like to get your thoughts on it as well. It was announced obviously that the salary cap was higher than what they were expecting, coming in at 255.4, a 30 million increase. If you were the 49ers GM in a perfect offseason to you, what moves would you like to see done, knowing now that we have money, whatnot, whether that's extend this player, that player, cut this player to make this money, whatever. If there's like a vet free agents of certain positions you'd like to see come in, whatever it is, restructure so and so, a perfect off season to you, what moves would you like to see done?
I definitely, obviously being realistic here, the 49ers do need to either do a restructure or sign someone who's currently under contract to an extension that will put them under the cap. I believe they're about like 5 million over the cap right now. So either a restructure or two, and or an extension could do that. Um so it depends on who they decide to extend, if that's something they want to look at. Like I saw possibly Fred Warner could be someone that they look to extend. That's something I definitely wouldn't be mad at. Um, so and with that, also Brandon Ayuk extension is something I would definitely be looking at as well. I seen all of the talk from Mike Silver and then also Tim K. Like it just seems like they're getting the sense that the 49ers are looking to make some type of splash move. Um, and I don't know if that means via some kind of trade or via free agency, probably more likely free agency. So yeah, that would excite me too. I definitely sign me up for that. I'm not sure like who who could possibly be out there, but as far as I think it's tough for offensive linemen to get like a I don't know. I feel like a lot of teams just sign their really good offensive line, or sorry, extend their really good offensive linemen.
Mhm.
So I wouldn't expect there's going to be a quality offensive lineman in free agency, but who knows? I would say more likely we would see maybe the 49ers target a corner in free agency, or maybe even like a big um, uh, edge rusher, big name edge rusher. So that's kind of what I would be thinking. Trying to think if there's any other like positions. I think as far as free agency, I think those are the big ones I would look to target there. And then of course, like this draft, they got to nail this draft. And I know, we talked about what positions they might draft in the first 3 rounds, and so I'm excited to talk about that. Uh, but yeah, definitely, there'll be some changes, I think, in this off season, but hopefully they're good changes.
Yeah, I keep seeing, the name, the John Feliciano's name, a lot coming up a lot
Mhm.
this weekend. Um, Obviously, we heard from John Lynch, and I think it was in his little side convo with um, that he talked about, wanting to bring him back. It's a possibility. Is that something that you would like to see as well? Or I know some people, since the little off season, I mean, yeah, off season, but as soon as the Super Bowl pretty much ended, the little scuffle he got into, with Burford and whatever online, like some people are totally like, no, we don't want him a part of this team anymore. Like, no, it doesn't matter how well or didn't he didn't play for us. It doesn't matter what he did for us. That was enough to be like, he's not a fit with us. He don't fit this culture. He's not, if he's able to just throw his players, his teammates, especially it's an O line, another
Mm.
teammate, part of the O line group, the guys that you're supposed to be so tight with. If you can easily just throw them under the bus like that, like what are you doing to the defensive players? And some people don't want him back. Where are you at with the whole Feliciano discussion?
Yeah, I would welcome him back. I mean, honestly, it seems like John Lynch didn't think I don't want to say he didn't think it was a big deal, but it seemed like that was squashed pretty easily. I don't think John Lynch saw it, and I'm sure Feliciano explained it to Lynch this way, that he wasn't his intention wasn't to throw Spencer Burford under the bus. It was more so defending Colton
Right.
McKivitz, because Colton McKivitz was, getting fried on social media,
I
right?
agree.
So
Yeah. Mhm.
so yeah, I think, that was all explained between Feliciano and Burford, and then I think between Feliciano and Lynch and whoever else, right? Like, it seemed like he apologized for all that. He owned up to it. So I don't think it's anything that should uh keep the 49ers from keeping him. I thought Feliciano had a good enough season. I imagine that had he just started the season from the get-go, like, this offensive line maybe would have been a little bit better as the season
Right.
progressed. But yeah, I would definitely bring him back if it's the right deal. At the same time, like, I hope they would also look at, upgrading at right guard in general as well. But, maybe that's too much to ask for if you were also asking for some tackles. So yeah, Feliciano in the meantime, I think would be a good fit, because he also plays 3 different spots on the line. He could play left
Yeah.
guard, right guard, and he can be your backup center. So that holds a lot of value for any offensive lineman who could play multiple spots.
Yeah, and the spots that we did play, it's not like he can play, what's that saying, like a master of something,
Uh,
of like but master of none,
Master
like
of
if
none,
somebody can
yeah.
do a lot of shit,
Someone
then
in the comments will help us
they're
out.
nothing's they
Jack of
can't be
all
a master
trades,
of anything. Yeah.
Jack of all trades, master of none.
Yeah, but,
Um,
like, he actually played the spots that we saw him play for us anyways, and we saw him play center recently for another team. But even, both sides of the line that we saw him play with us, like, he played at a pretty high level, like, it's like, I definitely he's
yeah,
somebody I would bring back. If
yeah.
he's not asking to break the bank, and pay him, top some crazy money. And if we can get, I don't even know what his contract was this last year, but I'm sure something similar. I'm for it. Another guy I would like to see come back as well, and I don't know if he now like played himself out of a contract with us or how it's going to work, but that's Cleveland Farrell. He's somebody when we signed him, I don't want to say I wasn't expecting much from him, but I mean, kinda, like, um, he's somebody that hadn't lived up to his hype where he was like his draft class, spot, and how well he was supposed to do. But we've seen other D-line guys come to our team and play well with our coaching staff and whatnot. But I was like, okay, he can come in and be one of those guys, maybe rotational, but he ended up really being, solid for us. And when we lost him for the playoffs, like it was definitely felt, I feel like the 49ers would have had a hell of a lot better chance winning with him in the game for the Super Bowl than without him.
Mhm.
Because the guys, I mean, and Chase did step up for the Super Bowl, but during the playoffs, like we had nobody to set the edge on that opposite side of Bosa. Like it was a terrible, terrible D-line play from the end after Cleveland Farrell went down. Um, so I would definitely, if he didn't, like I said, if he didn't play himself into this big ass contract, like we've seen other guys, like I said, come through and earn themselves a big payday somewhere else. I don't know if the injury will play a part into that or how that works, but he is a guy I would like to see come back as well.
Yeah.
All right. Steph, Bosa, GM, you brought it up about the first 3 rounds. I let you in. Normally I don't tell Steph what questions I'm gonna ask her. I just put her right on the spot and make her
Yeah.
work.
Yeah.
I let her, I let her do a couple hours homework on this. If you're put on your GM hat, the first how many picks is it? 4?
Yeah, it was
One,
4
two, three. The
in the
first 4
first
picks
within the
for the
first 3
first 3
rounds.
rounds.
Yep.
I asked her if she's the GM and she's gonna pick us, the perfect draft of players. Who are we getting? And I don't know if she has players' names for us or just positions. We'll see what she's got for us. But let's see, Steph.
All right, so yeah, I actually like to kind of because usually I'm just terrible at knowing where guys would normally fall in a draft. Like you were like, where's he projected to go? I'd be
Yeah.
like, I have no clue. So I did a quick like mock draft as well. But first, before I show you the mock draft, as far
That's
as
real dedication right there.
first I'll just mention like the positions I'd want the 49ers to target. In with their first pick in the first round, I would like them to target a tackle. And this is the draft to do it. I think they can even wait to 31 to get a good quality like day 1 starting tackle. That's how good this tackle draft is, in my opinion. Then in the second round, that's pick 63. They could do a couple of things here. When I was going through the mock draft, like I double dipped on offensive lineman right there. Another possibility I can see is the 49ers going for a defensive lineman. Don't hate me, but I could even see the 49ers going for a defensive lineman with their first round pick. Don't hate me, but I could see it. Um, and so just a name I'll throw out there for either scenario of well, actually, okay, I'll keep the names to myself for a second. Another position that I would target with that third round pick number 94 overall. I'd either go safety or I'd go corner. I think the 49ers, those are positions that, you got to draft every year, especially corner, I think.
Yeah.
Um just because I don't know, it just seems like with the 49ers, any injury, at least last year, it was like we were just too close to chaos. It with any single injury, it was like, oh my god, like Ambry Thomas, oh my god, Isaiah Oliver could potentially be in there. Like you don't want that
Yeah.
scenario. And the 49ers, as we know, they do need to either find an outside corner who can, keep Lenore in the slot or find a slot corner and you can
Mhm.
put Lenore back on the outside or a guy who can do both and gives you the options, right? So I would like a corner, I think, in that third round. And then for the 98th pick in the third round, because those two picks are so close, I could see the 49ers either trading up or trading back on one of them. So, I think they can get two very close type two players that are somewhat close in how good they are in the third
Mhm.
round. So, but that is where I would like the 49ers to double dip on offensive linemen within those first 3 rounds. I'd like to have at least two offensive linemen. And if you're curious about the mock drafts that I did just really quickly on PFF, um, and the reason I hate mock drafts is because like they're never like the real thing. So it just kind of irks me. Like I feel like
Mhm.
why am I doing this to myself kind of thing. Okay, so for I did two of them. So in the first one I took Troy Fatanu out of Washington. He's a tackle. PFF gave me an A grade for that pick. In
I've
the
been seeing
second
him
round,
to us a lot.
yeah, he's good.
Mhm.
And yeah, you definitely see his name around because he's one of the top tackles in the class. And then in the second round, I go Christian Haynes. He's a guard. Uh PFF gave me a B plus for that one. And then in the third round, I went cornerback Andrew Phillips. He is the nickel corner out of Kentucky. And he's someone who the 49ers met with, as I mentioned, at the combine. He was nice at the Senior Bowl. He's small, but like he plays a lot bigger than his size. And, he plays with some aggressiveness and tenacity that I think you need to have when you're a corner, especially if you're like on the smaller side, right? So, I like that. He's feisty. PFF gave me a B plus for that one too. And then my other round 3 pick for 98, I took Dominic Pooney out of Kansas. He's another tackle. So I triple dipped on offensive line here, double dipped on tackles. Kind of a crazy draft, but um PFF gave me an A minus for that, those 3 rounds. Then the other one I did, this was the first mock that I did with the first round pick. I took a tackle. That's definitely like what I want them to do. I took Tyler Guyton from Oklahoma. And PFF gave me an A minus for that one. Then I took Christian Haynes again. For some reason, he was there every time, and just he just I guess felt like a good option. Um, and then in the third round, I took safety Sion Vaki. He is one of the safeties the 49ers met with at the combine. Um, and then Dwayne Carter was my last pick. He's an interior defensive lineman with pick 98. PFF gave me a C plus for that one.
Um,
Overall, B plus grade.
Look at that. Hire her, 49ers, because EFF gave her an A minus. We need that. And I was watching Brad and Jason's show, I think yesterday. And
Mhm.
they were talking about, and Brad put one out on Twitter as well. But they were
Yeah.
talking about, if the 49ers, faithful, they had it their way, they would draft offensive line with every single pick of the draft. And that's what it reminded me of when you were reading that. I'm like, oh my God, Steph's making their shit talking on us come true. She's doing what they said.
They'll mix it up. They'll mix it up just because the 49ers never do what we think or want them to do. So they'll probably surprise us.
Triple dipple nipple. What? The chats, they're liking what you had to offer. So
Let's
all
go.
right. Well, speaking of what the faithful do, and what the faithful want, it seems like whenever a 49ers, like a somebody that used to play for the 49ers either becomes available, they get cut from their current team, or they're on the market, or even if they're not available or whatnot, the faithful always want to bring back all the old players to the team, right?
Uh-huh.
And like you'll literally see if you're on social media that every time there's a post, this team cut so and so, the faithful, it'll be up and down the timeline 60,000 times within like 2 minutes. Bring him back, bring him back, bring him back. So with that being said, with any ex 49ers players that the names have been in, the circuit recently, there's Aziz, Lakin, I'm sure there's more out there, but even players, that are on other teams that aren't available. If you could be, one of these faithful to bring back one of our old guys to fill a need to go on this run this year, which player are you bringing back?
I might mention a couple guys. I would definitely Kwan Williams is someone
Mm,
who, I really liked in his time in San Francisco, and given that that's a current need for the 49ers,
true.
it was some shoes to fill that didn't get filled in so nicely, this past year. And we had to force, Lenore into that spot, which I don't, to me, he did well, but it's not
Yeah.
ideal. I like this one from Jedi as well. Aziz Al Shair is definitely another guy, especially given the fact that Dre Greenlaw is not going to start the season.
Hmm.
Having a excuse me, having a guy like Aziz, I think, could be beneficial for the 49ers. And who knows? Like I don't know what kind of deal he would take though. That's kind of what
Yeah.
would complicate that. But clearly he loves San Francisco. I mean, just the fact that he was on the sideline pre-game for a playoff game, like while still being under contract with
Yeah.
another team is wild to me. That's just something you don't see. So maybe his desire to be back in San Francisco could be something that will make it work. Uh, yeah, but those off the top of my head, I think those are guys that, definitely are options. Um, I'm trying to think on the offensive side if there's anyone. Honestly, the 49ers haven't lost a ton of
Not
guys.
too many.
Yeah, aside from me,
I like this one.
DJ
I do like that.
Jones.
Yes.
Yeah, man, DJ Jones. I miss that guy
Man, we
like
missed him.
every
Yes.
day. I miss him so much.
I
He's a
feel like we
dog,
haven't stopped the run since. Teams are still running on
man.
us since Jones left.
Man, he's a dog. I miss him a
Like he
lot.
literally is like
That's a
a
good
just a
one.
wrecking ball for the center, like
Yeah. No, that's a good one because like I will be in the middle of a season like I was this past season and the season before that, thinking like, damn, I miss DJ Jones. Like I see him, he plays for the Broncos now, and it's like I see that and I'm like, damn, man,
I
wow,
especially
why?
like hate when guys like that like we really like that are so close to the faithful's hearts and stuff. They go to a team and like I want everybody to get their bag, right? Like they risk so much playing this game.
Yeah.
um so I don't want to say, oh, they got their bag and went to a shitty team, but whatever the reason was, they ended up on a shitty team, and it's just like, man, like they deserve so much better to be playing on a team that's like competing, and like not a team like the Broncos that, like, you've seen what a dumpster fire it was the last season, where the coach is yelling at the quarterback on the sidelines and the players are fighting each other on the sidelines. And it's just like, man, like you want better for your guys than that.
Yeah.
um All right. Oh, Corey, we appreciate you so much. And I'm totally with you. He says, at this point, I'm more excited thinking about new faces than keeping old faces around forever. And I
Oh,
agree.
yeah.
I think there's some players, especially like there's a reason why, they were let go, or why the 49ers didn't sign them in the first place, right? Some are obviously there, it's beyond whatever reasons. But other ones, like it's like they they weren't playing at the highest level of their career. Like like people start to decline. Like we might want to remember them like how they were back in these years, but they don't stay like that forever. Like guys get old, they it's like. And I'm with you. I'm so ready for, there's definitely some positions that it's just like, I know the faithful have players in those spots where it's like they're fan favorites, but it's like we got to really start thinking about these guys that are towards the end of their careers, or and I saw Sim bring this up in the chat earlier. It's like that thing where, and Belichick was always known so well for this, is like letting guys go a year early, instead of a year too late.
Mm-hmm.
um And that segues right into the next thing that I wanted to talk to you about. And this was from one of these rumor pages, whatever, so take it for what it's worth. But it says tough decisions could be coming for the 49ers, decisions that could be involving productive veterans who played a significant factor in the team's recent success, per Mike Silver. According to organization sources, many tough conversations are already being contemplated. I saw somebody as well bring it up in the chat earlier about that they could see Juice being somebody that gets cut. If that Mike Silver has said some things in the past that the faithful didn't want to believe that were true, and all wanted to say that he didn't know what he was talking about and he was talking out of his ass. And they ended up coming true. So let's say that Mike Silver really knows what he's talking about. Who do you think that these players are that we would be saying goodbye to?
Yeah, thinking that, Mike Silver doesn't know what he's talking about is the reason he blocked me. So, a long time ago. But I did see this article from him, and, I do think he is very much connected, not just within the 49ers org, but also, he's an NFL insider as
Yep.
well. So, he has sources outside of the 49ers building too. And I'll also add on what Tim K said in his article that he put out today. He kind of like hinted at similar things. And so let's see, like, I mean, it wouldn't surprise. I think one of the things that Tim K said was that there's a chance that like Eric Armstead gets released if he doesn't agree to a pay cut. I could definitely see Juice being under that as well. Like, I think Juice is one of those guys that, I mean, look, I think we know how important he is to the team. Like, he has brought a lot of value, but at the same time, for a fullback, you got to look at positional value as well. As a fullback making as much money as he is right
Right.
now, it's kind of egregious. And I mean, the 49ers, when they were starting this thing, they had to overpay guys, to come to the team
Yeah.
and keep them around. So Juice kind of fell under that category. Now they're at a point where it's like, it's all, they're at a fork in the road as far as these big contracts, because you can't pay everyone, but you look at some of those contracts like Juice's, and I think you just say, hey, like, we got to try to cut this down. So are you willing to take a pay cut? If not, then we're gonna have to do something with you. For like, teams aren't using fullbacks enough
Right.
where Juice, as good as he is, would be a tradable commodity. So yeah, I mean, the 49ers would have to cut him if he would refuse a pay cut. Same with like Eric Armstead. So yeah, those are just some of the potential things I can maybe see happening. As far as Debo Samuel, like, he had his cap number went up significantly this year as well, but I think it's more likely they move off of him after next season. Or yeah, after this season or next season, because I believe there's an out in his contract in 2025. So they'll probably just wait on that one. But yeah, I mean, I think there's probably at least one veteran that could end up getting cut if they refuse to take a pay cut.
Do you think that if and when they get rid of Juice, that they go with another fullback, or do you think they find a way to use a tight end to do what he does, or they just figure something, they get rid of this, like what do you think they
Yeah,
do? Because like you
they
said, a
can.
lot of teams don't use a fullback anymore.
Yeah, they can probably use a tight end. I know Rob has, he he's always like yelling about something, and one of the things is like, Juice. He sees Juice as one of those guys who could be cut. Um, And, he points out the fact that the Rams used to use a fullback, now they don't. So, like, even within the Shanahan scheme, like, some of these guys have evolved past the point of using fullbacks. So, I think the 49ers can also do that. I mean, they have good blocking tight ends, right? So I think they'll have that option. I was actually surprised. Okay, not surprised, but there's a number of tight ends the 49ers have been meeting with too. And I guess I felt that was somewhat surprising just given that they took two tight ends in last year's
Yeah.
draft. So to me it definitely feels like they're getting ready for like, a new wave of talent that needs to come in on this offense, particular in the tight end room and maybe, when you think about fullbacks.
Yeah. All right. Rapid fire, couple who would use, and then we're gonna get out of here because I think Steph has a show right after this. So
I do.
she
Another
works
prospect
hard.
spotlight interview.
There you go. All right. So who would you, Steph? Who would you on the 49ers like to sit down and pick their brain with about football?
Huh. Okay. I would say Nick, but I feel like
She
he
just
wouldn't
wants to pick Nick for
explain.
every answer, I swear. You're
That's
gonna
my
get an F
guy.
on this test.
That's my guy. Um, I feel like he wouldn't explain things so well though. Like he'd be very short, and
Mhm.
I feel like a guy like Fred Warner, or even Charvarius Ward, would be very in depth with their explanations on how they see the game and how they play certain things. So I would definitely love to pick either one of those brains. Yeah,
I
Nick
like it. I
Bosa
like it.
conversation would definitely be boring. Yep.
All right. So remember that boring and don't be picking Nick for this answer because who would you go on a 2-week road trip with?
Wow. This sucks. I feel like I don't know them enough to like know who's
That's what
fun.
makes it funny.
I know that George Kittle's fun, but he's too much. Like
Yeah.
he's
You can only
way
put
too
up with
much.
him so long.
His personality would just drive me nuts. I like it. Great guy, but no. Um who like okay. Maybe Juwan Jennings, or Trent. I feel like, Trent would hold it down with the aux cord, like I think like it'd be a fun ride out there. And then,
And he'll have the
Juwan
good snacks.
Jennings, I feel like Juwan Jennings is a fun guy as well. So I would say I'd go with him.
I like that. I like it. All right. Who would you go to Six Flags with? Or
That
any
I
of,
think I
amusement park,
definitely
whatever.
have to go with George Kittle there because that'd be a short
Yeah.
amount of time. But you need that kind of energy, I think, at a theme park.
Yeah, I agree. All right. Now, I take in mind, I don't even know who Steph's best friend is, whether it's a girl, whether it's a guy, it could be a gay guy. I have no clue. But who would you set your best friend up with on a blind date?
Wow. Okay. Most of my best friends are like married or in serious relationships
Well,
with. But
sorry for him.
but what's really funny is so my girlfriend, her best friend is like she's single and
All
she'll
right.
she'll text my girlfriend and be like, Tell Steph to like get me in touch with this player." So the one of the players she said was Brock Purdy, and I think like
Oh,
Brock
wow.
Purdy. I know, right? Like, but I feel like I was a little surprised by that because to me he looks like a child.
And
But
he's taken, like, geez.
Well, yeah, but assuming he's single, obviously, right?
Yeah.
Um, he's the guy you can take home to mom, and she
He's
would
like
love
the kid
him.
next door,
He's
literally.
stand up dude, like just when like your mom meets him, she'd be like, "When are you marrying him?" kind of thing. So I'd just say Brock Purdy.
All right. And the last one. Who would you want to be stuck in an escape room with?
stuck in an escape room, like not even
Like, time to
successfully
get
like
out. Well, I don't know if you pick somebody
Oh,
like
this one's a good one.
you
This
might be
one's a good
stuck
one.
depending on your answer.
This one's a good one. I feel like it'd be someone that, has to have some competitive, like real good competitive spirit, but also can think like somewhat analytically, to figure it out. Just because I feel like I go on the defense side a lot. I'm actually gonna say Christian McCaffrey. I feel like
Yep,
he'd be good at it.
I like
Yeah,
that
see,
one.
49er media said the same thing, unless
Say
you guys were
that too,
talking
yeah.
about the other
Yeah, I think
question,
that's who they're talking about, yeah.
which would also have made sense.
Yeah, that would be a good one to set. Like, I feel like she's not my best friend, but one of my really good friends, Tabitha, she's, like, in love with Nick Bosa, so definitely that would be my Nick
But
Bosa answer for that
do you
question
but
because she's always like, can you call Nick Bosa? Can you get this for Nick Bosa? Can you?" I'm like,
yeah, but it's like,
"No."
have you heard him speak? Like, are you sure you wanna have a conversation with him?
I mean, she's kinda like ding dong herself, so,
Oh, perfect.
those conversations, they'll be great. All right, Steph, in 5 minutes, let the people know what you got going on.
Yeah, so I have another prospect spotlight interview. This time it's with Idaho wide receiver Hayden Hatton.
Mm,
This guy, I mean, like he was at the Hula Bowl, Idaho's FCS, right? So he was named, I believe, God, I gotta find it, but he was named like wide receiver of the year, FCS. He was a All American after the 2023 season. So definitely like a guy that I think overperformed his conference, like quite honestly. Really interesting guy. So excited to talk to him. And yeah, that's on my channel, Steph 49K. So make sure you guys check that out. And I'll have, of course, more prospect interviews next week as well.
yes, sounds wonderful. Chat, we appreciate you guys so much. Steph, I appreciate you as always. We will be back next week, same spot, 49 Faithfully and Steph 49K. Make sure you're subscribed to both channels. And yeah, we'll be back next week, next Thursday at 3 Pacific time. We're out of here, fam. Till then, everybody take care. Stay safe out there.